When I start working, I have a pretty good idea of where I want to end up, the emotion that I want to convey, but I don't have much of an idea of how to get there. So the process looks like one of those mazes in a children's book where you have a piece of cheese in the middle and an entrance, and the mouse is supposed to end up with a piece of cheese, but there's a bunch of routes which lead to nothing. So it takes me a long time to do a piece because I start and suddenly I realize that what I have done does not lead me to where I want to go, so I chop it off and start over again. So for instance, the head of the elephant, I must have tried to deconstruct it and reconstruct it maybe 15 times in order to be able to achieve the emotion that I wanted to convey when I started to work on it. So at one point, I've been living with it for such a long time that it acquires a name. So we called it Ellie, because it had been there for such a long period of time. And the other ones, the ones that are maybe a little easier to do, like the owl, well, this one didn't acquire a name because it stayed within I didn't work on it for such a long period of time. When I work, I decide to put the feet of the animal first. I make it. It's as if I decided that the space that is what the thing was going to occupy, I set it with the 4 feet, and then I build from that. And the size of the animal will be decided by the space that I decided to occupy. So most of my animals, it's as if they were of the earth. They were coming out of the earth, and especially since I'm using steel to build these things, it's interesting because it's a material which is hard, on which you burn your fingers all the time. You scratch your fingers, but at the same time, my things are quite light. So and the way I write on them with the plasma cutter to make them come out, make the steel come out, is what I think is quite an interesting process. So I start from the feet and I build up from the feet, and then the rest has to be in conjunction with how I started. And even sometimes it will happen that I will chop one foot and replace it, put it somewhere else, and especially if the pieces that I'm doing have movement in them, it's kind of hard to decide where they are going to go. So you start, you destart, you restart, you cut, and then you end up at the end with something that carries the emotional content that I wanted to convey when I started working on the piece. The Musk Ox, for instance, is an old relationship that I had with a filmmaker from the National Film Board, which he was called Pierre Perrault, and he had done this movie a long time ago on the Musk Ox in the north, and these animals are what in North America we have like the mythical animals that we have. In Africa they have lions and they have elephants. In North America we have moose, we have musk ox, we have bears, which are our lions. They are all the myths of the stories that we have are around these animals. The musk ox is such an incredible animal, and the way they live in bands, the way they band together to protect themselves, I thought was an incredible animal, and I wanted to do it. And when I started working on it, and at one point I realized that I would have to do this fur on it. And to do it, I said, well, it's easy as pie. Cut a piece of wire and weld it on the animal. And when I have finished cutting about 3 kilometers of wire in a meter, I realized that, I was going to do what it took to do the animal. So it was a wonderful experience because you learn patience. You learn how to build something, and also what's fun is that you learn to not stop until what you have in front of you is an extension of the way you feel about that thing. The animals that I make are an extension of me. Thank you.